Happy Thanksgiving to all. It's around what 7:02 Thursday. Those who are getting ready to celebrate, I hope you have a wonderful time and enjoy your family. Before I get into the final episode of Greenleaf, uh, click click subscribe, hit the notification, turn the bell button on, so that way you know when I get ready to come back. Whatever I decide that I want to do, because after this, I don't really do a lot of the shows that, come on. So I don't know. I'm gonna see if I can find another show that I can do. If I find one, I basically will do it. But let's get into the episode. And so we see that Basie is still uh pointing this gun at the bishop. And then all of a sudden, Corinne, she rolls in. And so instead of pointing it at the bishop, he rolls in and points it at Corinne. And so the bishop was able to basically have Basie to not point the gun. And so the bishop tells Corinne to basically leave the office, leave it now, and do not call the police. So Corinne's leave the office. She sees Lady May. She lets Lady May know what is getting ready to go down due to the fact that uh, Basie and the bishop is in the office, and Basie has a gun pointed at the bishop. Okay, we get that done, right? So we go on, and we see that the bishop is basically and Lady May has come into the office. And the bishop, Lady May asked the bishop if he was okay, and he said basically yes, he was okay. And so, of course, the bishop was trying to really, uh, pretend that everything was okay, but really it wasn't, because he was going through some stuff. And so this is when the bishop tells Lady May that basically he was sorry that he wasn't able to make her final, to see her service or hear her service, but the fact that he knows that it's time is her chance, and so he decided that he wants to, excuse me, that he wants to go ahead and give the church and step down as being the head, and that Lady May step up. And so this is when we go on, and then we see that Connie is basically really, really do not want the bishop, nor does she want Lady May to continue to be the head of the church. And so they have a meeting of the deacons, and it's the deacons, it's Lady May, the bishop, and Jacob. And of course, Jacob has basically joined his father because he wants to see exactly what the deal was. And so Lady Bates goes on, going to her, trying to convince the deacons that she's basically ready, that she can handle the church. And Connie stops her and says, "Look, no, it's not happening." So she presents the bishop and Lady May a, a petition of 2,000 signatures. And basically, on that petition, it states that the bishop and Lady May, they would like for them to step down and allow someone else to come into place. And of course, we know that Connie has been soliciting harmony and hope. And so, of course, Lady May is not feeling it, and the bishop basically is really, really not feeling it. And so Lady May basically leaves, and the bishop basically stays to have his final say so to Connie and the bishop. And he basically lets Connie them know that, basically this is not going to work. And basically, I know that you're going to get something out of the deal after the deal is closed. You have a little check and everything, but trust and believe this is not happening, right? And so before we had this meeting, and the reason why Jacob was basically in this meeting with the bishop is that Carissa basically was at the house having a conversation, and Jacob was at the house trying to convince Carissa not to do the divorce. And so Carissa says, "Well, I'm gonna need some support for my children, even though I want to divorce you. I still need to get some support money, and you still need to bring in some support money." And so Jacob is like looking at this, and then this is where we get a phone call. And this is what I'm gonna ask too. A phone call, and the phone call was basically coming from the accountant. Remember the accountant who basically was spilling his guts and who basically was telling them all this? Well, turns out that the accountant has basically stole the church triumph from underneath Jacob and Carissa. So basically, uh, this is how Jacob wind up being at that meeting with Carissa because the accountant, and we're going to go on and talk about a little bit about this accountant, right? And so we go on and we see that uh, there's a little powwow, and a little powwow is with Hope and Harmony. Basically, Connie has basically put together a meeting where Grace meets uh, the head of the Hope and Harmony. I'm going to say Hope and Harmony franchise churches, uh, mega churches, and I'm not too big on franchise mega churches. I'm just not be hey, and we understand that churches are business, and the way churches are being presented to themselves, presented these days as being, especially if you're one of those mega churches. And so they go on, and the head of Hope and Harmony, if I think it's Jeff Bridges. Remember, those of you all who are old heads who remember the landlord with Jeff Bridges, and I think was Pearl Bailey in this. I'm not quite sure, but he's the head of Hope and Harmony. And so this is when Jeff Bridges started doing the sweet movement and saying, telling Grace that, hey, I think there need to be there need to be a new voice. And I hear basically Jeff says, I hear with the head of it says, I hear that you are prophecies and we need that. You're special. You have this voice and everything. In the meantime, Grace is like, excuse me. Here we go again. In the meantime, Grace is like taking all of this in, right? She's taking all of this in and she's basically listening to what, the spill and everything. They're trying to convince Grace to basically, be like an intern and become the pastor for about, a year before they basically go into the transition, basically taking the church over, right? And so basically, Grace is like taking it in. So in the meantime, we basically is dealing where we see that uh Tasha is basically talking to Basie. And basically Basie is basically in this convenience store, basically, getting buying liquor and everything, and he's all happy and everything because, he's still got this suitcase full of money and everything. And so the bill came up to like 40 something, 44 and 47 cents. And so Basie says, well, here's the 40, but I don't have 47 cents. So all of a sudden, we see this big old giant, you know, goo dressed in all black and everything. And he plops the 47 cents down on the counter, and basically look up at and noticed that he had recognized his face, and I have recognized his face too because this is the same face I believe in episode two, no, season two, final season two, when Basie was basically getting ready to, do the run and everything, and he ran into this ghoul. So this is the same ghoul that he basically ran into. So basically, Pacey lady goes out of the church I mean, not out of the convenience store, and run into Rochelle. Rochelle looks at the brother and said, hey, yeah, you got my liquor and everything. And Basie said, look, drive. Basie hops into the car and says, drive. And then Rochelle would say, what the? He says, drive. And so this is where we see, excuse me, Basie and Rochelle drive. In the meantime, we see the heavyset guy basically get into the SUV and follow Rochelle and Basie. So I got a question mark with that. What's going on with that? And so we go on. In the meantime, we go on, right? And so we see that Grace is basically, having a conversation with her mother. At first it started out really nice, and uh, Lady Mae was basically talking about how, things went at the church and things seem like it's going to work out and all of this. And then all of a sudden, it became from being nice to, uh, what the hell is going on? So when I say this, it's because Grace basically told Lady Mae that, you know, uh, Hope and Harmony has basically asked her to stay on and to, stay on while they make the transition from Hope and from Calvin to make this transition. And so Lady Mae said, okay, well, what did you tell them? And so Grace says, well, I told them that I'm basically going to pray about it. I really haven't made a decision as to what I'm going to do. And so this is when Lady Mae went shift right back into her nasty self, started talking about, oh, I guess you're going to talk about the little old lady and the lady this and the lady that. And so Grace was like looking at her and was like, yo, I'm really trying to tell you, I'm trying to have a conversation with you and let you know what's going on, and that Hope and Harmony, or Harmony and Hope, is basically trying to get control of the church. And you basically coming with this, I'm going to use a curse word, you coming with this bullshit. I have always been trying to deal with you. And so Grace basically, Grace got fed up. And so they went at it again, y'all. They went at it again. And so, how Lady Mae gets her little head on her ass, and then when she feels that Grace ain't basically looking at her, she'll basically walk away from her. So, why did Lady Mae walked away from her? So this is where Grace gave Lord a boom on her. Grace says, okay, you want to walk away from it. I'm just, after you say, okay, you're going to walk away from me. Well, let me tell you this. Let me tell you this. We had a fraternity test, and Lionel, I know that Lionel is my brother. I mean, excuse me, Lionel is my father. Lionel is my father, and Aaron is my what stepbrother, different father, but the mother. All right, and so this is when Lady Mae really got nasty. She says, well, I guess since you know all this information and everything, I guess you basically gonna go ahead and just tell the bishop what's the deal is, that, and Grace says, yeah, I'm gonna tell him. You gotta know. So you gonna just go up and tell her. He says, well, I'm not gonna keep the secret from her. You know that this is the issue with some, when black people, because black people have a tendency, old school, when I said old school, I mean old school, they have like secrets and stuff, and they know about a lot of stuff. They will basically some of them will go to their grave before they actually tell the truth. It's some skeletons in the closet. And that's why some of the kids come up fucked up. Some kids, not all, but some kids come get all screwed up because of the secret of what are people. I like, if you got a secret, tell it so you won't fuck up your kids, because a lot of black people are running around fucked up because of the grandmother, the grandfather, and the mother, doing shit that they ain't got no business. And then when they finally finds out, the kids is already screwed up, got all kinds of mental illness that they got to take care of. But anyway, the reason why I said that because some shit like that happened to me and my family, you know. So anyway, I divest. Uh, and so Lady Mae said, look, 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 look. Don't do that. Don't do that. Let me basically tell the bishop on my own. And so I said, okay. And so this is when, we go back at that same scene. We see that the bishop and Lady Mae is basically in the office talking and everything, right? And so while they're basically talking, Lady Mae invited the bishop basically over to the house. And so the bishop says, well, I'll come back over to the house on one condition, that whatever's going on with Grace, that you fix it. And so she had basically told the bishop that uh, Lionel is Grace's father. And so Bishop says, okay, now we even. We're even. And I'm saying, well, even. Okay, well, we know that you had an affair with Mavis. But what about this even? That ain't even. Now, unless you got a kid or you did something, and the one reason why Mavis, that's why I said Mavis need to come on back out of the country, come on back into the United States, and let's find out what this even means. I want to know what this even means. What y'all trying to do with this when he made that dialogue that is even? Is there something else that's in the pudding that we don't know about? But anyway, and so we go on and basically we see that Grace goes to the office and she has a conversation with basically her father and everything, right? But prior before this, and this is where I would say this is, how some people who really, really do vicious and mean and hateful stuff. This is when Aaron basically alerted Grace that their papa basically left everything, but the papa, Lionel, did not leave Aaron nothing. The reason why is because of Aaron's lifestyle. He didn't agree with it. But here's the deal. Like Jane Caldwell and Random TV and Blue was basically talking about or saying like, yo, that was really, 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 really fucked up the way Ronald what Lionel did. Lionel didn't like his lifestyle, didn't lead the son anything, but Lionel knew from the very, very beginning what the 411 was when he finally met Grace. He knew it because the father somehow, let him know it. And this is what you do, Lionel. This, this, this is how you reward your son who was basically there. But anyway, uh, but that's how some people do. They don't understand it. But to each his own. And so Grace basically have a conversation, and the bishop basically have a conversation. And the bishop was basically letting Grace know that no matter what, you're still my daughter. It does not matter. The only difference is that I'm not your father, but I'm your father in the spiritual aspect of it. And that I know that you have always loved me and you have always protected me. And this is when Grace asked her father, said, look, Dad, I have ran into some, large sums of money, and basically I wanted to give it to you. And I knew uh, that she was going to do that to get her father out because remember, Basie and Rochelle, they have the money that they stole from the bishop and Lady Mae, so they got that money right there, and they're rolling out into the sunset, allegedly thinking that they're going to get away with it, but anyway. And so, of course, we know that this $3 million that Grace has came through inherit. She's basically going to give it to her dad so he can basically take care of his tax issues. Meantime, we go on and we roll on and we roll into the fact that Rochelle, now Tasha, has basically made a deal with the FBI because remember, Basie was basically trying to get Tasha to come with them, and this is where Tasha says, "No, I'm not coming. Uh, I'm done. I'm it. Goodbye, Basie. I don't want to hear from you. Click up." And so then we go on and we see the church. The church is basically it all together and everything. And so this is when the bishop is doing his sermon about Moses and how he basically Moses uh, makes a few mistakes and he does things that he shouldn't be doing, and it goes on. And then this is where we see that the bishop is basically having some issues, and the issue is that the bishop has a slight heart attack at church and he blanks out and fall out at church. And then this is when we basically see you know the bishop basically you know have a fallout and everything, right? Well, while they had a fallout at church and everything, uh Jacob and Carissa is not at church, or are they? I think they are. I'm not too sure. But prior, before that scene, we see that they had basically called Jacob to let Jacob know that what had happened to basically the father. And so Jacob told him to basically call, they don't care. And I think this was after they found out that basically had the gun and everything. And Jacob said, call it and, let the doctor come over. So we're back at the church and the bishop basically had a heart attack, right? He had a heart attack. And so I was like, oh, hell no, no, you're not. What y'all trying to do? So y'all trying to get rid of the bishop by way of having a heart attack? Are you serious? Are you going to are you saying that in the near future this may happen? That y'all gonna wipe him out of the character? Because somewhere along the line, that Grace basically becomes the pastor, and by she becoming the pastor, you're gonna wipe that legacy out so they begin the new legacy. Oh hell no, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not. The fan has spoken. No, you're not. You're gonna write, and when you write, you're gonna find some kind of cure for the Parkinson, because there is a cure for Parkinson's. So you're gonna find that cure. You're gonna let him take that pill so he can get cured. Okay? So no, you're not. So but anyway, I'm thinking that the pastor has basically passed. The reason why I'm saying that is because we see that everybody is basically at church. I mean not at church, but they are getting ready to have dinner. And remember the first season, when the first season came on, all of them was getting together and having dinner. Well, we're repeating this in the third season. We didn't repeat it in the second season, so we're going to repeat it on the third season where all of them get together and all of them are basically dressed in black. Now, let's get to Sophia and Zara. Sophia and Zara basically go out to the pond and they basically make a pact. And the pact is that they will always, no matter what happened, that they will always stay in contact with each other, that they will always talk. And so they came to an agreement. So, they squashed the beef. In other words, as the kids would say, they squashed that beef that they were having amongst themselves. In the meantime, we go back into the house and we see all of this setup. Everybody is basically dressed in black. We basically see Charity, Aaron, and Kevin coming down with baby Nathan. Baby Nathan is getting ready to be carted off to somewhere else because Baby Nathan is not old enough to have a green leaf dinner. So here we come. So we get together and everything, and we thinking, and at least I'm thinking, that the bishop is lights out. Lights out. They've gotten rid of the bishop. But come to find out, they did. The bishop was basically, he had a semi attack, a heart attack, and so they basically put the bishop out of commission for like 2 weeks. He said, and so the heart attack for like 2 weeks, and so the bishop, gathered his kids, and we see that now everybody is at the table. They have basically a blended family. We have Carissa, Jacob, Sophia, and them have gotten back together. The bishop and Lady May is on the mend, and we don't know whether or not Charity and Kevin and Aaron. It looks like that everybody's okay with Aaron and Kevin, being there, but we don't know whether or not if uh, the bishop and Grace and Aaron, but Aaron and Kevin, I think Kevin knows. Yeah, Kevin knows, and I think Kevin did mention that. Are you going to say anything about I think he mentioned it to Grace. I wasn't too sure. Kevin or somebody mentioned it that, are you going to mention that Aaron is your half brother? And so I wasn't quite sure about that, who mentioned it, but I do know Kevin mentioned it. Are you going to mention it to the family? Because the only person that really, really knows what's really going on is Aaron and Kevin, Lady May, the bishop, and Grace. So that meant that Sophia, Zara, Jacob, and Carissa don't, and Charity don't know that Kevin and Aaron is Grace's half brother. So that's going to be basically kind of interesting exactly how they're going to deal with that. And so, and of course, Carissa is back again, being her old self, being her controlling self, because at the dinner table she tried to remove the candlesticks, and Lady May was like, "Look, leave the candlesticks alone. Let Marisol set the table. She knows what she's doing. So you just sit your little ass down and let's, let's get, dinner. Let's get this dinner going." And so while they were getting ready to get their dinner, get ready to feast and everything, which was pretty good. This is when the bishop was getting ready to say the grace, but then this is when I think it was either Lady May Lady May asked Grace that she basically wanted to do the prayer over the food, and so then this is where we get this prayer. I can't remember the prayer, but I do know the very beginning of the very end of the prayer. It went something like, "Let's bring us together," and basically, let's bring us all together so we can basically get back what is rightfully ours. And so, in other words, the Green Leaf is getting ready to fight harmony and hope. They're getting ready to fight harmony and hope. Uh, uh, the bishop, Connie thinks that she going to be, uh, be in charge, and that the bishop and Lady May is just going to be like ousted out, but that ain't the case. The case is that basically Grace is going to go. Well, we just basically said Grace is going to go in and try to not try, but they are going to get that church back, right? Now, here's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at a couple of things, right? The way this ended, it ended perfectly due to the fact that today is Thanksgiving. And so Thanksgiving is really about family. And so how Greenleaf and the writers basically brought the final episode together was very well, was very good. And I like, how they did it. Now, there are some, it's not a cliffhanger with fireworks the way it was last week, because last week could have been this week, but really it kind of left it really smooth, but it left the door open for a lot of things to occur. And some of those things I'm looking at. What the hell did Grace do in Phoenix, Arizona that got her to step back when Rochelle called her hoe? Uh, Even though Basie tried to get Tasha to come with her, but Tasha was kind of sort of said no, but she kind of sort of had a second thought about it. Um, Carissa is up to her all of her shenanigans is because she realized that I didn't mention about the dinner scene where basically they had sex on the dinner table, and Jacob gave her some special attention. I'm just gonna say it like that. Jacob gave her some special attention, just like, and it was interesting. The corollary was interesting, as the parallel was interesting. Remember when Jacob was getting ready to go over to Triumph, and Carissa paid some special attention to Jacob. So this time, Jacob paid some special attention to Carissa due to the fact that Carissa sees an opportunity with the fact that Hope and Harmony is getting ready to come in, and she knows that Hope and Harmony is money. She sees dollar signs. So let's get back. Now, what's going to happen with that money that Basie and Rochelle has? What's going to happen? They ride off into the sunset. So they're basically still out there, right? They're basically still out there, right? And Connie thinks that she's, gotten away scot free. She's been taking over the church. And right now everything is rosy with Aaron and Kevin. So we figured that the writers gonna get in there and they're gonna upset the two lovey dovey. They're gonna upset them. Now, remember that Charity was getting fresh with the detective. I think I want to see that. I think I want to see Charity basically find herself and find seriously true love. I want to see Charity does that, and I definitely want to see Mavis roll back into town. I want Mavis to come out of seclusion. Come from, where did she go? Switzerland somewhere, to open up a bar somewhere in Switzerland? Well, I want her to close that bar as well, writers. Ava, I want you to close that bar in Switzerland or wherever the hell she is. Close that bar, have her to come back, open up another bar. Okay? But so far, the way it ended, that's all I have to say. The way it ended very well. I like the way it ended. And I look forward to seeing Greenleaf again, the fourth season, because they have got for another season, and they did leave a lot of openings, a lot of stuff untouched and unsaid. Until the next time, please hit the notification, hit the like, hit the share, and turn the notification on. And remember, peace and love is for everyone, and enjoy your holiday.